right. Hey, everyone. I want to welcome you to this week's Blab, our edition of Get Seen, Be Heard. I'm Christina Daves with my co-host, Karen Yankovich, and we are so fortunate this week. We have Susan Harrow, who does similar stuff to what I do, but we've been kind of talking about some collaborations we're going to do together, and it's always great to hear a different perspective and learn new things. So we're going to let Susan introduce herself in a few minutes. But hi, Karen. You want to
Hi, Christina.
say hello?
Hi, Susan. Yeah. Hi, everyone. We come here every week what day is it? Thursday at 2:30.
We're having a day.
Yeah. And we do this because, I teach social media. Christina teaches PR, and to hire us privately, it's a lot of work. So it's an expensive proposition. So we've started this lab so that we can kind of share with you all some of the tips and tricks that we use, so that hopefully we can get our message out to more people that way. So I'm excited to have Susan here. I'm going to sit back and take a lot of notes with you two here today, I'm sure.
So Susan, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and tell them, all about you, where they can find you, and you do a lot of really cool stuff that I'm excited to talk to you about. So I'll let you have the floor.
That's so great. So you should always be prepared with your bio if a host is not going to introduce you. So I'm Susan Harrow, media coach, marketing strategist, and author of Sell Yourself Without Selling Your Soul. And at that time, there was no such thing as like the conscious entrepreneur. And I wrote that book because so many women thought that they were bragging, begging, or whoring to get good publicity. And I said, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to sell your soul. There's another way. And it's about being yourself. Because Oscar Wilde said, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. But I think a lot of times, especially when we move from private to public persona, people think they have to be bigger than they are or be different somehow. And I say, no, you can be exactly yourself with your quirks and however your personality is, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. I'm actually a trained extrovert. I'm not an extrovert myself. So I even get nervous before a blab, So
we're harmless.
Yeah.
It's just the idea of it. And I think that the bigger the venue that people go in publicity, the scarier it is, because they're afraid that they might be shamed or they might be embarrassed or they may be caught off guard. And that could all be true, because it's so essential to be prepared. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you said also to introduce myself.
Yeah.
So,
but I'll just add on to something that you said, which is very rare that it happens in this order. But my very first television appearance was national television. It was on the Steve Harvey Show.
Wow.
And yeah, I was hysterical. I was so nervous. I had never given a speech. I had never been on stage. I flew to Chicago. I had no saliva in my mouth. I was a wreck. And the best piece of advice that my friend gave me, he's a hypnotist. And I said, Brian, I can't do this. What am I going to do? And I knew I couldn't blow it, because if I blew it, it was done. Like nobody was ever going to have me back on. And he said, Christina, nobody wants to see you fail. Yeah. He said, look in the audience. He said, it's not like you're a nasty celebrity and people are going to boo you. He said, everyone is there. They want to see you do well. And I got there and I was still nervous, and I panned the audience, and Steve Harvey right next to me. And I saw this woman, and it's been 3 years. I can still see her face clear as day. She had on a red sweater and a twinkle in her eye, and she smiled at me, and that was it. And from this day forward, I have really never been that nervous again. And that was the best piece of advice. So if anybody takes anything out of our conversation today,
the audience is on your side.
Yeah.
And that's number one. And I think I love Albert Einstein, who said, do you believe this is a friendly universe? And to believe that this is a friendly universe.
I love that.
It's the rare person who's not on your side. It's not that everyone's going to love you, because that just doesn't happen. Right. But the point is that there's a beautiful person out there in the audience, and you create that energy with them, and then you connect to one person, you connect to hundreds, you connect to thousands, and that's the way that it works. So yes, your audience is on your side. And then also to flip it, the other thing is about flipping it is to think about yourself, like, oh, I'm so nervous, and about me, but what am I here to give? And how am I going to serve? And that's like a real mindset shift. It's like, how can I be of like greatest service and value to my audience, while also getting what I want which is, business, sales, people to sign up for your programs, your products, buy your books, whatever. But to think first about what it is you have to give that's going to connect you most deeply to your audience, and to make sure to deliver that.
And the one thing that you specialize in, and I found out about you probably 5 years ago, is SoundBites. And I touch on that with people, but that really is something that you are an expert at. And it's very important, whether it's a print interview, but even more importantly, television, because you have that limited amount of time. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? A, why it's important, and B, how do you work to craft that?
And by the way, I did have one of my clients, his first media appearance was Larry King, and his second was Rock. Yeah, so that was quite, so I have a little bit of a cold still. So most people do things back-asswards when it comes to media. They rush to get media attention, and then they have their you-know-what moment when the media calls. So we want to flip that around, which is that you want to prepare your sound bites, which are just your key messages. And they can consist of stories, statistics, facts, vignettes, analogies, and acronyms. They're woven into the conversation. It's not about throwing out stock phrases that sound like a robot. You want it to sound completely natural and just move it into the conversation. So you want to have those stories and everything prepared ahead of time that best represent what you're there to talk about. And then you want to, if you can, I highly recommend that, particularly in TV, when I media train my clients for TV, we have all of the questions mapped out, and we also have all of the answers prepared and timed out to the second. Now, does it always go perfectly? Absolutely not, because lots of times the host talks more than you do. You have to be prepared to be able to shrink those sound bites and be flexible on the spot. So that takes an enormous amount of training. That's TV. So your TV sound bite should be anywhere from 10 seconds. 30 seconds is actually pretty long, but that's about the max. And then we also map out the visual cues, which are B-roll, background footage, which are the props that go with that, as well as the background footage, which is any video and pictures, to help shorten and tell the story. So those are part of your soundbite structure and strategy as well for TV, so you don't have to use as many words and you can still convey what you want. So soundbites are super important, because if you don't capture the attention of the interviewer, even if it's a print interviewer, you're not going to get quoted. So you can have a whole conversation with them and not get in the article at all if you don't say something in a fascinating, concise way. So
what's your number one tip to do that? Just if you could just give one piece of advice, say somebody on here today gets a call and they have an interview in the morning. What's one way they could just, that first out of the gate, just give them something powerful?
Yeah. So two things. Ask before you tell. So if you get that call, don't start running your mouth. I ask, what is the angle and focus of your show or your article or whatever it is? Because then you can take all the stuff that's in your head and narrow it down just to answer that one question. So that alone will help you focus on, oh my gosh, what should I talk about? Then the second thing is that you might want to tell an intriguing story, because journalists and producers love stories most. So rather than telling anything abstract or an analogy, you tell a very specific story that relates to exactly what they want to hear. The more you can speak in story, the better. So speak in stories, and your story should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And as one of the most important things when you're on a show or in an article is to tell that success story of one of your clients. And that's the way to get out of bragging as well, because you're telling a success that happened because of somebody using your business, book, product, service, or cause, or engaging with you. So it's not really about you. It's about them and their experience of you. So the more you can have those super concise stories, the better it is. So for example, one of my clients who was in, she was in my soundbite course, and she said before she always lurked. She never said a peep. And then she said that she felt less than everyone else because she thought there were a lot of big and famous people in there. And then by the end of her goal for soundbites was to get a job, get her dream job, and also to get her own client. And by the end of the course, she had an interview on, which was both audio, video, and in person all at once. So extremely intimidating. And she got her dream job and she got her first client.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said she felt like she was good enough at the end. So that kind of story has a transformation, which is, moving from one to another, from feeling unworthy to worthy. It also has a measurable result. She got the client and she got and then she got the dream job. And now we could also even put that in quantity. If we wanted to, the story could be told that she made $100,000, right, from her first client. So whatever you want to tell that story, you want stories that have inner transformations and stories that have concrete results, because people respond to those different kinds of stories. Does that make sense?
And I absolutely, and I love what you were talking about. I have a client that I've worked with for years, and she's been in every major, Shape, Health, First for Women. She's like a regular contributor to all these magazines, and she does exactly what you said. She highlights her patients. She's a doctor, and she's a doctor of naturopathy, so it's a slightly different, angle. And that's why she can repeatedly be in, because she has these success stories of different people that she's helped. And the big thing is it's appealing to the audience. So I always tell people, it's not a me story. What can you tell that is going to be appealing? What do you want to read? What do you want to watch on TV?
Yes. And we love these stories. And the more you can make your clients or your customers the heroes, the better it is. And we love like the local hero story, right?
Yeah.
So
and you benefit.
Right?
Exactly. And you benefit from it because you're telling the story, but you're in there, right? They're the hero, but you, exactly.
Yeah. You're the
perfect word.
To create that possibility for that person. And this can be done for anything. It can be done for a business book, a product, service, or cause, anything. Yeah. So that would be the number one thing, is to tell stories, to listen first and tell the story. And then in terms of telling your story, we want to pick out like very vivid details, so we don't have to tell everything, right? We tell a few details, details that make it pop, about a personality, about the way it looks, about something that makes it vivid and come alive. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does.
Love it.
It does.
And poor Karen's sitting.
No, I'm soaking it all up. Are you kidding? I'm soaking it all up. I'd actually like to go back to something you said earlier, Susan. You referred to yourself as a trained extrovert.
Yes.
And I guess that's self-explanatory, but I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Well, I'm a natural introvert, meaning I'm much more comfortable by myself, and but I love little bursts of people, and I do love love people in small quantities, and then I have to kind of go back and read and be myself and sort of rejuvenate. So my parents trained us really early. Like when we were kids, we had to come down to their dinner parties, shake people's hands, look them in the eye, and to have a conversation. So we were trained, and this training is so fantastic because I feel like I can talk to anyone, anywhere about anything, whether it's a king or whether it's a homeless person on the street. Right. It's no different to me. And that, is how I was trained, that you treat everyone with kindness and you're as generous as possible. My dad was an orphan, and someone helped and put him through Cornell University. Wow. Yes. And people were kind to my father. And so in return, he's put someone through college my parents have through Cornell. And the guy that they put through college actually flew out to meet my parents, not at their behest. He's like, I have to meet these people who are putting me through college. And he came out to
I have goosebumps.
I know. That's amazing. I love that.
So I think that spirit of generosity, is something that people sometimes forget in terms of the basis of PR, that's the whole focus to me of PR. It's not about selling yourself. It's about how you're generous in the world and how you move through the world at all times. Like everything that you do, say, are, and think, from your words to your website. To me, when all of that is congruous, then the selling part or the promoting part is just what happens naturally when you connect with people. And you're not thinking about like, and I always think about in my mind, like, is this a good match? I don't think like, can I sell the most people possible? It's like, is what I have a good match for the person in front of me? And to me, that's the key. You know, are they a good match to be a friend? Are they a good match to, you know, be when I'm speaking with someone, is this somebody that I want to continue with? Like I've met an incredible woman on the bus in the airline she was like this remarkable photographer. I'm like, I want her to be my friend. You know what I mean? So it's like you can meet people anywhere. You can do business anywhere. I think that that's just a part of how we move through the world. So it's
funny that you say that, because Karen and I had a guest on a couple of months ago who was she's an actress, and in my younger days, I mean, it was like a crush when she came on, and we've actually become friends. And it's like, you know, we talk about doing Skype happy hours because she lives in Texas and I'm in Virginia, but you're right. Anything is possible. And if you click with somebody, whether it's friendly or work or whatever, but that's why these are so great. These Blabs and Periscope,
I love it.
Because you really get to see people.
Yes.
You know, that's what Karen and I always say. This is really us. We're a little goofy, and this is really us. So if you like us and you want to work with us, this is what you get.
Right. Exactly. So it sounds, Susan, like though that you kind of took that. I don't know why I'm harping on this trained extrovert thing, but it sounds like what you're doing. You're teaching people how to do that in some ways, right? It's really about putting yourself in a position where, you know, you may not be comfortable, but you've got to somehow find that place of comfort so that you can succeed and, you know, and get that and have that great interview as opposed to one that you don't even want to watch, you know? So it's all kind of about, I don't know. I just was watching recently I don't know if you guys have seen the Amy Cuddy TED Talk where she talks about the position of power. She talks about it's not fake it till you make it. It's fake it till you be it. You know what I mean? It's not about making it. It's about faking it until you are it, until you're comfortable with it, until you are feeling it and you're being it and owning it. Exactly.
I can't stand that phrase, fake it till you be it. Even the fake it part. I think it's like, it's okay to be where you are. And if you're not confident, so what? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really like, I think it's more like the so what factor. You're vulnerable. We love people who are more vulnerable. We hate people who are like super confident, stud muffin, you know, perfect people, you know? I mean, that's why on TV or anything, when people make mistakes, it's so fun. Right? You know, and so it's much better to be natural than perfect. So I think I love Amy Cuddy and I love what she's about. And we can all be confident by taking that power pose for 3 minutes a day. I think 2 or 3 minutes a day, which is really remarkable. In the meantime, you can just do it as you are in the state of you are. So maybe you're super nervous and maybe you're an introvert. That's okay. Like, introverts are never going to be extroverts and vice versa. So we have to work with what we have right now. So it's about, to me, it's about shifting the behavior. And because Amy Cuddy is all about like, okay, you do the power pose and you shift your brain chemistry. Well, it's the same thing. You practice your sound bites, you get comfortable, and it's actually scientific that if your sound bites are ingrained in your head in the long-term memory, you can access them. If they are not, and it's in short-term memory, your cortisol and the nerve, which is the nervous hormone, can wipe it out. But if it's in your long-term memory, you can access it. So there's something to be said for the behavioral practice of getting your sound bites down. And yes, memorizing them word for word if you're a nervous person and don't feel comfortable. And then making sure that when you say them, it sounds spontaneous, like you've said it, this is the first time, even if you've said it 100 times in practice. But there's something to be said for that actual practice neurologically to make sure that you are a success no matter how nervous you are. You know?
And I do that if I'm a host for an event to do like the introduction of that person. Karen and I were just involved in a big event and I practiced that introduction 100 times at least, just walking all around, just saying, so that when it was very effortless. It was very, you know, I don't think anyone could tell that I practiced it. I wasn't, you know, reading off of anything, but you're right. It was And I just flowed because I had done it so many times. So I was a little nervous, but it just came out because I had practiced.
It's about practicing so you're free to be spontaneous. And
yes, exactly.
Yeah, because then you can really be in the moment because you're not actually having to think. And that's when really beautiful, spontaneous thoughts can come to you as well. And that you can incorporate that. As you start to get experienced in it, then you can start to incorporate that.
There's some questions
go ahead.
Here about giving you an example of an actual bite. It sounds like a bit similar to an elevator pitch. So what would be an example of a soundbite?
No, it's not an elevator pitch exactly. Soundbites can be in length from, like I said, 10 seconds to 30 seconds. So a short soundbite might be from like one of my clients, astrology is a guide, not a god. That's a super short, less than 10 second soundbite. But what I just told you, that story of a woman who took the soundbite course, that's also a soundbite. That's an example of a story. An analogy, might be, or we might use, I can't remember whether it was Steve Barker. Now I'm forgetting who said this, but a TV host said, what we want our segment to achieve is you want to be able to hear a fork drop, So we want people to be listening at that level. Drop a fork. So a soundbite can be anything. Like I said, it's stories, statistics, facts. So a statistic might be something like 80% of people are afraid to give a speech, are more afraid to give a speech than they are of dying in their coffin. Right? That was how you would use a soundbite. Now, I would take that and I would not leave it there. I would say, this is how I would turn it around. So, and you always want to end on the positive. So what we said, if that's true, there are certain things that you can learn in speaking that don't make you feel like dying and that make you feel happy that you're alive and eager to talk about, to give their next speech. The first one is blah, blah, blah. So another soundbite, and the most common one that I can teach you that all of you can use overnight because it's super, super simple, is headline 1, 2, 3 epiphany. So this is really super good for a podcast, a blab. You have a headline. There's a strong headline that gets somebody's attention. Something like, if you don't know how to speak in sound bites, nobody's going to listen to you. So even some things like that. Sure. Then number one is to speak in sound bites, you need to practice at speaking in 10 to 30 seconds every single day, telling a story. That would be number one. Number two, number three. And then the epiphany would be just the wrap up of what I want to say. So be sure if you want to do any kind of media appearances that you have your sound bites down. So no matter what a host or editor or journalist asks you, you can get out the information that you want. That's why it's important to create your sound bites. And so that creates a good energetic between you and your audience, and that you get what you want, meaning that they buy into whatever you're promoting. That's headline 1, 2, 3 points, epiphany. And you can use that over and over again in like a radio interview. I mean, you want to have some variety, like you do want to have the one-liners and you want to have analogies. You want to have a mix of all these things. That's what makes the best interview. But if you were terrified and that's all you did in an interview, you would do yourself well. Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome. I typed that in the chat so everybody can see that. But that's... Yeah.
Does anybody want to come in and talk to Susan directly? We've got a little bit of time left. Not a lot of time, but if anybody wants to jump in that extra seat, now or never.
Take advantage. Have her help you with the soundbite. This is the experts, the guru.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I never really think about things in terms of soundbite, and I'm sure that I have some. And now that you've said that, I'm going to kind of catalog them a little bit, so that I actually call them sound bites and I've got them written down and I can get them. They're in there, but they're all kind of scattered,
And that's a great point, because you should, if you're going to do media appearances, you want to have your sound bites organized, and you want to actually create an arc and even an order to an interview. The more you control your interview, the more you're perceived in the way that you want. So you want to say, what are the most important things that I want to convey to my audience? And then the way to create them it's not to try to fit them into these boxes right away. What I do is I listen to the way my clients speak naturally. And then I say, does this fit into a format? Or is it just, because I'm always thinking about, there's not only like these formats, there's lots and lots of different kinds of formats. But I just say, is it more efficient if we package it into a format? And so the way that you want to create your sound bites is free flowing at first. Just talk, 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 talk. And in your signature sound bites course, we match people up with a buddy. So you can practice your sound bites back and forth and you can actually test them out. And then your buddy can say, oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. Because it's really hard for us to figure out what's interesting about what we're saying. And that's why we need that kind of feedback. So when I listen to somebody, I just let them talk at first. And then I go, oh, there's a key point. Let's shape that. Oh, there sounds like the germ of an interesting story. What actually happened? What was the result? What did this person make $100,000? Like one of the guys in my soundbite class got paid $100,000 after someone heard him speak and they wanted to support his university. So they wrote a check for $100,000 and then somebody wrote another check for $100,000. That's what your sound bites can get you. They can get you another one of our, the people in the course got a whole sponsorship, so she got her whole media tour paid for. So sound bites, when you have them down and they're clear, can get you business, can get you sponsorships, can get you speeches. Another one of our soundbite course, she tripled her speaking fees from $5,000 to $15,000. So if you're a speaker, and it helped her speeches too, because sometimes speakers, because they've got a whole hour, think that they can ramble on and tell like a 15-minute story. No, you still want to have tight stories. Hey, we have somebody.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Tracy. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. This is my first time in this group, and I'm not ready for a sound bite, but no one else was taking the seat, so I thought I'd take it.
You're welcome.
Welcome to people who volunteer.
Yes.
Yes.
I know that one day I would like to be in the media. I'm taking steps towards getting that way.
Excellent.
So just a little bit of a background on me. I am a resume writer, and I also do workshops to show people how to construct a resume in the proper way in 2016 and beyond, and also how to brand themselves for their next opportunity using their resume and other career service products that they need, such as a cover letter, thank you letter, and reference sheet, and to have a proper profiles in social media if they're job searching.
I love that. I mean, I'm right there with you because my background is social media, but I'm always focusing on LinkedIn. So I agree, the branding is really important. So what are the steps you're taking now towards that media?
Well, right now I gain most of my clients through word of mouth, many clients that I've worked with, and now I do the Periscopes. I do live resume critiques on Periscope.
That's so smart.
Absolutely, and it actually lands me new clients every time I do them. Sometimes I have to back off from them.
I love that.
And then I'm going to be starting a blab show to start people off in the conversation of resumes and how they are today, because a lot of people don't know that they've changed so much, and they wonder why they never get a call back. So I need to get out there, and one of the main ways that I did it is I just finished my first book entitled.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Entitled The 30-Day Job Search Jumpstart Challenge. And it's actually a book of not, you read it from cover to cover, you read the chapters that pertain to you because it's chapters, and then there's a actual activity after each chapter.
That's a great idea.
And then I took 3 chapters and a bonus chapter, actually 2 chapters and a bonus chapter to discuss college students and job search, veterans in job search, and ex-felons in job search.
Oh, that's
good for you. Hey,
Yeah.
and I just want to say, so here's an example of like networking anywhere.
Yes.
I actually have a background in HR. So we didn't just go through my whole bio, but I worked for 10 years as a consultant for Pacific Bell Directory, the Yellow Pages in HR.
Okay.
And I put thousands of people through role plays and also through interviews, targeted selection interview, TSI. So I did look at hundreds of resumes as well. So you and I should talk afterwards because I have a new product called Hire Your Next Boss. It's how to, it's how people can use that interview once they've gotten the interview from your great resume, and how they can actually really use that interview in such a way, using SoundBites and using to choose their next boss and to show that they're the candidate for their dream job. Yeah. So you and I should. So please connect with me after. Yeah,
I certainly will.
Anywhere, even in a black.
Yeah, love it.
You never know. And to get my point across to my clients, I don't have to really sell them once I talk about the branding them themselves.
Sure.
And teach them that I am my brand. So I start out with letting them know, see my business card. So I'm going to place the business card up there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and it actually has my contact information.
Yeah.
On the inside of the card is my resume.
Oh,
wow.
And then on the back of the card is some of the services that I offer.
Oh, that's great.
Now, on the front of the card here, these are also my car door magnets. It has less more information on it, of course, but I strike up conversations wherever I go just from the business card. And then that's a brand. And then my license plate reads one resume.
Oh, so you're walking the walk and talking the talk.
Smart lady, yeah. What's so great about what she just said too is that she has a consistent brand across all, and that no matter where she is, like even if she's driving, people know exactly what she does. And then I love that you give an example that you're actually working on people's resumes, so they can see you in action. They can see you. How you would transform someone. One of the most common things, and I know that you know this, Christina, is one of the quickest things, and one of the things that the media loves is a makeover. What happened before and what happened after, right? The before and after. Now we have whole shows on makeovers, right? Whether it's a house or a person, or you see it on The Voice, a makeover. So that's a super easy thing that people can see visually. What you do is make a transformation in terms of the person's content, so people can see that. So I can see that would be a great vehicle to get you business. For you, when you start out in media, one thing that you might consider, what we were talking about, is highlighting your clients. So you might have a client who has been struggling with their resume and not gotten a job. You rewrite the resume. They get a job, they feed their family, the family's happy. That would be a great story for the media. And the more you have those, the better. Here are stories of 3 people who were struggling in our community, or in any community, right? Who were on the verge of bankruptcy, hunger, homelessness, whatever it is. Transform their resume, and now their lives are turned around, and they
true,
right?
Absolutely true. And that actually happens even on Periscope. It happened to an executive. I gave him pointers. I reviewed his resume on Periscope, and he didn't take my services, but he actually took all the tips that I gave and went out and got a job.
Right on.
Yeah.
You know what, Tracy? It sounds to me that I don't know really what you're waiting for to get some media attention, because it sounds to me like you're ready. You're out there with your car and your license plate and your car.
Exactly.
The next step is, the Today Show. So I think it's time, or maybe something a little more local. But
Let's start local.
Out there.
Something super simple that you could do versus jumping on the Today Show is jumping on your local TV station. Like, take a picture of your license plate, send that in with your, with the little pitch with somebody who you helped in the community get a job. And, I think that visual with a little story could get you in your local paper or your, let's start simple. An image and a story.
Yes.
And this is,
I love that.
And I love the idea that you're helping like ex-felons
and you know, people, what did you say, and veterans?
Veterans and college students, because I have
Those
20 years.
3 great areas.
Yeah.
They could either be a
absolutely.
separate press release or one. Here's a felon, here's a you know, veteran, and here's a college student that I've helped, you know, get.
Yeah, and that's my background. I have 20 years in corporate, and then I have 8 years in education.
Now I have to ask you, what is that in the background there? Are those bottle caps? What is that in the background behind you?
They're actually like just a design. It's a little plates.
Oh,
Okay.
so interesting. Yeah, so very intriguing.
I love it. It's intriguing. It's a nice background for you.
But anyway,
Thank
small. Start with your local, and then please report back to us your local paper or your local TV station. I think it would be really great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Sounds
You could
great.
even propose a live segment on, you know, I don't know if you help people with their wardrobes or whatever, like helping them get like prepared for the interview. But it would be really fun to do like a makeover. Here's the crappy
A whole makeover, right?
a whole makeover. Like here's
Yes.
like they're wearing, you know, tattered clothes and need to brush their hair or whatever, you know.
Yeah, because I actually I link them if they don't have clothing. I link them to Dress for Success organization,
I love it.
and for the men for suits, they'll dress the men from top to bottom. Career gear.
So you could do a before and after. I would propose a before and after on TV.
And Tracy, one thing, and Susan will tell you too, one thing the media loves is collaboration. If they could, so this way it's not just you, but you're also bringing in Dress for Success and anybody else or a veterans organization who could be involved. That's because it becomes kind of a win-win-win for everybody, and it's not just about one person or one business.
No, I love it because it's all, that's community service. So you've got the community service organization, you've got a population in need, and then you've got, so it's a really nice combination for the day. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Right.
Bye-bye. And I'll be in touch.
That sounds good. I look forward to it.
So we have a question here from Caesar saying, I used to be a regular media contributor in another state. I moved 2 years ago, and I don't know how to get reconnected to local media outlets. Any suggestions on how someone can rebuild from ground zero?
Yeah. So I'm sure the first step is to become familiar with your local media and to really read, listen, watch what they do. And then one of the things that we're giving away today, right, is the 100-word email to get the media to call you. Get that, Caesar, because
you want to mention that real quick, and I'll put it in the link while you're talking.
Yeah. So the 100-word email is a very simple 100 words, and really it just consists of a very intriguing headline. And then what you want to talk about is you want to give a sincere compliment to whoever is that media person, meaning you're familiar with their work. So you love a particular article or a particular point they made, or you agree, you disagree, whatever that is. And then you propose a very specific story idea, whatever that is, that you think would resonate with their audience that they haven't yet covered. So you show that you're familiar with what your local media covers, and then you show the gap of where you can fit in for something that they haven't yet covered, but that based on the past of what they've written about, you can see how it would be of interest to that particular audience. Does that make sense, Caesar? So you rebuild by being of service. You rebuild your media by giving the media something that they can really use that's going to benefit them, that's going to be a great thing for their audience. And you're familiar with them first, so you can propose something that's very, very specific, you know, and a specific story idea with just a little bit of detail about the idea. Then you let them come back to you. Yeah, I love the idea. Tell me more. And then you have more. So it's all about just being a little bit intriguing. You know, it's not about telling, you don't have to blab the whole story, right? It's about giving just a little bit of a tease, you know, just enough to whet the appetite. And be sure to put in there links to your social media, links to images, to anything, so they can follow up and easily get more information if they want. So that's not, you don't have to put it all in there, just put in links to all of those different things that might give them more information if they want to check on your background and on your story.
And Susan, what's the link to get your 100-word email?
Oh, I'm going to have to go get that. So chat for a minute.
Oh, I was going to say, I have it in the email you sent.
Yes, I sent it.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
I'll pull that up quickly. And then he had one more question we can follow up. And then
Should I include a soundbite in that email?
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, this is where you're very specific. A soundbite, you're not really telling us necessarily a long story. A soundbite can be something as simple as a statistic, to show that whatever you're proposing has merit. It's about a statistic or a trend or something that's shocking. So when I say soundbite, I'm really just talking about being super specific and concise, in whatever you convey. So don't get hung up on the word soundbite. You want to say something that's going to intrigue them enough to call you and book you. That's really it, or to ask for more information. So I'm of the, and I don't know about you, Christina, too, but I'm of the way I want to be invited to send in more information. I don't want to dump it all.
Right.
I want to be invited.
And I learned that the hard way. That's one of the mistakes I made early on. I dumped and didn't get anything. And then I learned that these quick little, like you said, little teasers, 2-sentence emails were the ones that got them responding back to me.
Yes.
Okay, Susan, we've got to wrap up. Can you tell, I put the link in there, and can you tell everybody how they can find you and how they can connect with you?
So I'm on prsecrets.com, and there's lots of other free things there too. There's also, if you want to get into O Magazine, for example, I have 15 tips for that. So that's all under the free goodies page, and go to prsecrets.com. And obviously, if any of you are ready to do media, or if you're preparing, we actually have a course called the Sell Yourself Without Selling Yourself Membership Club, and that gets you ready for PR. That's prepping you in the back, all of the back end and everything else to get ready for PR. And then there's the soundbite course and a couple of other courses when you actually feel like, hey, I really want to reach out to the media now. And what's really nice is that you and I do not compete in those particular things. We have very different angles. All of Christina's courses are very specific to, actually, well, I don't know exactly what they're very, but I know that they're different from looking at them. Like my soundbite course focuses on what are you going to say, how to pass this audition, how are you going to get the media's attention, and then what you're going to say when you're actually booked that brings you in business. That's really the main thrust of it, and getting set up on the back end to make sure that all of that works out for you so you get the results that you want. That's it in a nutshell. And Christina does everything else.
We always say there's no competitors. We all work really well together. And that's why women are so successful in business.
Exactly. And even if there were things that you did the same, there are people that are just going to resonate more with one or the other. And that's
the other. Absolutely.
So I just think it's a good match. So prsecrets.com. You can reach me there and lots of wonderful free stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. All that information was great. I know everyone listening, and it'll be up on YouTube and iTunes soon. So a lot of people will hear your wonderful advice. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. It was great to see you and get to know you.
You too. And thanks for all of your questions about introversion.
Yeah. And we'll see everyone next week, Thursday, 2:30 Eastern.
We have Lynn Bardowski next week, the $1 Million Party Girl. So definitely you definitely want to come back for that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today on our Blab series, Get Seen, Be Heard. If you've missed any episodes, you can always find us at www.getseenbeheardtv.com/YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll always be notified when we upload a new episode. We work together with clients, helping them combine social media and PR to get more customers and grow their business. If that sounds like something you'd like to learn more about, visit us at www.soartoprofit.com. We have regular workshops where we combine our expertise and show you how to use social media and publicity to get seen and be heard. See you next week.